Hello, everybody, and welcome to a deck retrospective. A campaign in the books, another blind run. Eric's Forgotten Age campaign is finished, and we killed it! We won with flying colors. We were not at all defeated. I don't know what you're talking about. And as always, we like to round up our decks and then share our thoughts on them. So, Eric, why don't you take it away? I'm going to continue organizing mine, and you can start just going nuts on yours.
Well, so I decided to, I was running a Luke Robinson deck, and I decided to organize my deck in terms of least spicy choices to most spicy choices. And that was because as Luke Robinson, I had a lot of fun running a Chaos token deck. This was my first time kind of...
Curse token
deck. And I had a lot of fun just messing around with that. So obviously I started with Holy Rosaries because, frankly, I couldn't find anything better. I really wanted to find something better, but they were just good and they're staples, so I put them in.
Nice.
I ended up with a fully upgraded pair of Deny Existences, which...
Are pretty sweet.
They feel good when they're in your hand. They feel better when you play them. I loved them. The level 2 version of Ward of Protection... It was fine. The problem I found, to be honest, was that any horror towards the second half of this campaign was bad. So even playing these hurt me a little bit, just because this game seemed to be really out to get us in terms of like long-term injuries and debilitating effects.
Yeah, that is something that's especially notable for Forgotten Age. Trauma is something that's like, it carries over and it bleeds the entire time.
Yeah, so like I still played them, I still loved having them, they were still very useful, but that one horror ended up being a lot spicier than I expected it to be. Shouldn't have been, I like normally would have 9 brain. Read the Signs, also not a spicy choice. As Luke Robinson with events, I really wanted to mess around with these. I often actually didn't end up using them. Because of another choice I have in my deck that is not spicy. I ended up finding that I just was using Read the Signs to gain additional card gain. But it was still good. Like, I was still happy to pay 2 resources anytime Read the Signs came up to activate them.
Yeah, it's a nice card. It really kind of just changes, too, depending on the locations. Like, if there's locations that have things that trigger when you investigate, Read the Signs go up in value. But also just, like, if you don't find your kills, you're, like... Because you weren't really using... We'll get to them. But you weren't really using charge-based clue-getting assets, which is where Read the Signs goes up in value as well, because it's just like you get a charge off your asset without actually having to spend a charge.
Precisely. Uncage the Soul, I kept the level 3 version. It was really, really good when it popped up. It was part of my hidden economy, which we'll get to as my spicy choices later. I really liked them. I never found them bad, and I liked the random. Sometimes when I was set, I could just throw them away at a skill choice for Justin or a skill choice for me, and it felt very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked them. They were worth the experience. Sixth Sense, also not a spicy choice. I ended up running this. It was funny because in a Curse token deck, between this and Eye of Chaos, I was often using Sixth Sense over Eye of Chaos.
Yeah.
Just because it was just better, and with the amount of shenanigans Forgotten Ages was doing with us going to locations, it was useful to just steal clues off of other places.
Yeah, definitely.
So I did really enjoy this. I definitely put it to use. Into my slightly spicier choices, but not that spicy, I was a Curse deck. I used Eye of Chaos. There was one run we did.
And it was great. I do remember that one.
When it was just constantly exploding and regenerating itself or gaining additional clues, and it was amazing. I loved it. Ikiak, I really liked this character. I never really got to use her special power.
Honestly, the reality is that most basic weaknesses aren't that scary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But 3 for up to 4 soak with the +1, +1. I liked. I liked it. I liked that it, like some of my other cards, like Read the Signs. Did I use its power properly? No. Did I like having it as an option? Yes.
Yeah. Did it give you value? Yes.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's all that matters.
Deep Knowledge. There were so many times that I used this, and I desperately wish I'd had it in the final.
Yeah.
This was one of my favorite cards to play as a Curse deck, just generating stuff. Stirring Up Trouble, incredible. Incredible. I can't imagine running a Curse deck without these cards. These are phenomenal. It felt so good to run these.
Definitely.
Promise of Power, not at all spicy when you are running a curse deck.
Or just any deck.
Just any deck.
Card's wild.
I love this card.
Yeah, it's very good.
This card was so much fun. Every time I drew this card, I was like, I am the villain, and I love it. Favor of the Moon. So I got a lot of value out of Favor of the Moon. I found that with the Blasphemous Covenant, being able to seal... If I was having a hard time generating curse tokens, this really helped me generate curse tokens, generated resources, so it paid itself back usually by 2 resources. It was part of my secret economy. I really liked it.
Yeah. We did misplay. I missed it. I always forget. These are actually... There was one point where you had 2 in play. Mm-hmm. They're unique, so you can actually only have 1. But it's pretty easy to just not do that. Just use the one that's already in play. But yeah, there was the scenario when you used Favor of the Moon and the next card you're going to be talking about, and then also Eye of Chaos. I think it was Depths of Yoth to great effect, and it was really cool to see the concept of your deck come together and actually hit that big thing that you were looking for.
Speaking of which, Fae. So Fae I put into my deck because I had very low skills. I really liked the multiple...
icons, the wild icons?
Wild icons. And it was a bit of a controversial choice because I took out some good cards for these. But yeah, in the one campaign, I really got what I wanted out of these.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is getting to multiple play, multiple...
Yeah, you actually even also pulled them back once when you didn't even have a Favor of the Moon. You just drew a curse token and we were like, oh, that's great. That's just sick.
Yeah, I really loved these cards in a curse deck.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed them. This was a spicy last-minute choice that I just wanted to put in for fun. I chose it over Eye of ARKHAM.
Yeah.
Because I had a ton of experience by the end of this. Mm-hmm. I had some very aggressive uses of Arcane Research, also not a controversial choice, which just basically allowed me to buy everything I wanted in my deck and then go off.
Yeah.
We used this, had fun with it, but it was a stupid choice and I knew it and I'm happy to have bought it.
Yeah.
I got a Prophetic right at the very end and then never used it.
No.
I have no opinion on this card. So here's my spiciest choices. I only had 1 Rite of Seeking by the end of the game because I didn't like that it hard stopped my actions. Mm-hmm. And I preferred my weird Chaos Token Synergy. Curse Token Synergy. But I don't know why I kept that one in. I actually kind of wish I'd gotten rid of it.
Probably because you put the experience into it.
Yeah.
It's still a good draw, right?
Yeah.
And you can play around its downside pretty easily. But...
Yeah. It was just... The spiciest thing is that this is the only economy card in my deck.
Yeah. the straight economy.
Yeah.
Because you had your secret economy.
I had my secret economy.
But that was your only straight economy.
But I built an entire Luke Robinson deck with 0 to no economy cards, and it worked really well, but only because I entirely built around only needing bursts of money to reset my board state. My board state was pretty much 5 money was everything I needed, and then I could just wait 4 turns to get my economy back.
I think that's a very sound theory for working with Luke Robinson. And I mean, I think it was overall a success because I think there was only 1 or 2 times I remembered where you were like, I'm too short and I wish I had it, but I'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think, spoiler alert for people who watched the final episode where we absolutely crushed it and won single-handedly, I don't think our problem was your economy.
No.
Right? So I never can look at your deck and be like, that's the problem was the economy. Because I actually think your deck functioned quite well throughout the whole campaign. It was, I think it was the best deck you've built so far for all 3 of your decks, which makes sense because you're learning more and more. We're doing all of our. Oh yeah, you have this one too.
And this is not a spicy choice. I just suggest to any new player, if you want to have fun with a cool little mechanic, throw Observed in.
Anyone, if you want to just have fun, just get Observed. It's a great card. It's always worth it. IMO. It's just it's random as hell, but that's kind of what makes it fun. All right. And then we have my deck. Which, 1 second. Let me just check the focus. Oh, yeah. Give me a 10. These aren't, these are old webcams. They don't have great focus. All right, let's talk about my parallel Skids deck. and the potentially controversial choice I made to switch from Keimani to Parallel Skids, which is actually really funny because in the final scenario, I think Keimani would have been totally fine in that exact same situation. But I do think that Skids dealt with scenarios 1 to 7 much better than Keimani would have.
Yeah, if we could have just switched Keimani back for the final
scenario, same experience. This is my first time playing Parallel Skids as the Goon. I usually play him as the clue getter, and he goes off. Because it's the funny thing where we always say how, as the clue getter, there's pressure on you to push the game forward, but there is, because of that, less pressure put on you. As the Goon, you have the pressure directly put on you. And if you stumble, the game feels it, because we stumbled and that's what happened. I mean, we won. We crushed it.
Yeah, we stumbled, but we won. We stumbled into victory.
Yeah. However, with that said, I don't regret the Skids O'Toole deck. I think the deck was banging. I think that we just got a bad draw and an unlucky series of cards in the final scenario. So I don't regret changing from Keimani to Skids O'Toole. I think this one had a higher peak than the Keimani deck would. And it made Eric laugh anytime I gambled, which was always a great.
I will also say that as a new player playing a much more complicated deck than I'd played previously, having Skids O'Toole there and having him be so reliable and so strong, actually, I will say as a new player, like if we had continued with the Keimani deck, I would have probably built a worse deck. That's just, I think, a factor when you're playing with a newer player is sometimes you need to go a little stronger and a little less experimental yourself because the new player is going to feel pressure.
I think that's very fair too. Yeah, because a lot of people actually were they were upset that I chose Keimani for Forgotten Age. Because Keimani does neutralize a certain mechanic of Forgotten Age, the Vengeance mechanic. However, I think a lot of people, when they comment this, kind of forget that this was Eric's third campaign, right? Yeah. So, Eric is still very new to Arkham. I think Eric has 2 more campaigns until we get to the point where I can no longer call Eric a new player. I was a new player for a long time. It's one of those things where, it can change. Eric's certainly getting better. I think this was your best deck, and I think also your best idea of when you needed to be pushing the game forward and when you could take time to set stuff up. And I think that the Skids was a good switch.
I'm still a new player until I can at least remember how many cards you're supposed to start with at the beginning of the game and what your maximum card hand
size is. Yeah, that's good.
Session 8, my first question. How many cards can you have as a maximum in your hand?
Yeah. Also, what would be good, a great test as well, is what are all the basic actions? That's another sign for new players, if they can tell you what all the basic actions were. Spoiler alert, I might even fucking miss one. My 2 permanents that I started with were in the thick of an Underworld support. Parallel Skids deck is already smaller, so I went with Underworld support to kind of have some fun with it and make my deck even smaller, but also make it a Highlander deck, so only a 1 of each type of card. My upgrades in permanent zone, which we'll start in, was pretty simple. I had a False Covenant to work with Eric's Curse deck, mostly in the way that I work with it by it not fucking up my day. That's kind of where False Covenant came in. I had Adaptable, which I actually used quite a bit throughout the campaign.
Oh, yeah.
But no one ever saw because I do it privately in the comfort of my own home. But I used it there to switch out level 0 cards a few times. And then I was a big money deck, so we had another day, another dollar. Let's talk about my weapons. I had a few traditional ones. I had the Mauser. I had the Switchblade, which worked when I saw it. Switchblade was great when I drew it, and when I didn't, we felt it. But I also had a 41 Derringer. I could have gone, I think actually probably what would have been a better choice is if instead of buying this shot-off shotgun and sleight of hand, which I adaptabled in, I just bought another big rogue weapon that just killed things more efficiently.
Yeah.
They probably would have been the right choice.
That said, you did get really big shots off with this.
Yeah, I guess what I should have done as well is instead of buying certain cards, I should have just bought another big gun. I should have probably had 1 more big gun in my deck. But it's always good to look back at and see where you messed up, because that's how you learn. And, if I'm ever in the situation playing the Forgotten Age with Eric again with a Parallel Skids deck, I know exactly what I need to do.
And a Luke Robinson deck?
Yeah. Red Clock, good card. It's a very good card. I bought it, and I played it.
I love everything about the red clock. It might go in my next deck.
Ooh, spicy. Yeah, I'm curious what your next deck's going to be, because I know you have a few ideas. All right, let's look at my big money package.
I will also say, I think the shotgun with a big money package really mixes well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, with my well-connected, if I have, like, 20 resources, I get +5, which is 5 of the damage you want to succeed by. Everyone also look at my miscut well-connected. Don't you love it? Going in, I had this for a while, the gain 10 resources hot streak, which is basically just gain 7.
Yeah.
I had a fine, stylish coat, which I liked in the early game, but I actually wish was something else in the late game. The late part of the campaigns. So I should have actually honestly replaced it. Like, I probably should have bought a backpack later in the campaign. That probably would have helped my deck out better. That probably would have been the right choice looking back. I also had eCash 2. I played this, I think, 2 times in the last scenario, which is super sick. I had Unscrupulous Loan, which I got from a pile of ooze. And I also had a Watch This, which is one of the few level 0 cards that lasted until the end of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Double or Nothing. This card, so funny story about this card, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we start playing with the tab, look at that dead skin. Get that out of here. You guys have those sleeve problems where you just get dead skin on your sleeves?
Do you ever have dead skin? Just too much dead skin?
If you have too much dead skin, give us a call. We know what to do with it. So this card is actually forbidden in the Taboo list. You can't play with it if you play with the Taboo list. It's actually been, like, removed from the game, deleted, because it can lead to terrible, terrible broken things. And I wanted to play with it.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing about playing No Taboo List. I can play some of this shit that is really good, and then we still just lose. So it's like, why was this even banned in the first place? Because there's people who do it better and more efficiently than me. That's why.
Yeah.
They go hard on it. I just go meat on it. But it was really fun the time where we, like, used it with the shotgun, you and I together. That's also why you put the Seal of the Elder Sign in your deck as well. And I loved it. I never got to do the big commit at 0. So test at 0 with Skids and commit, like, all of these cards to it, which would have been really fun. The window just never came. I feel like in 3 or 4 player you'd have the window do something like that, but not so much. And I should play a flex deck with Travis and Bryn.
Yeah.
Flex Skids. That could be fun.
And put in Double or Nothing and just don't tell them.
I mean, they want to play No Taboo List 2 eventually. All right, and then we have a few more pieces of the puzzle. Delilah O'Rourke, I'm the goon. I use her to great effect throughout the game.
Oh, yeah.
Top Secret. Sorry, Counter Espionage, I read the file. This card did its work, just as for Mythos protection for me, which I really enjoyed. Lucky 3, because the card's just insane. Catastrophe, so I could get back, like, my stuff. And also just, like, be lucky for autofill tokens. And then the last one we got, here is Thermos, which I used to heal Eric and Mai's damage and horror because we took a bunch of trauma throughout the whole campaign.
This card I felt was a really big, like, taking it as tech against the campaign because,
Yes.
and, like, it never, like, I always loved when you used it, but it always felt bad because I was like, if this game had put less trauma and horror on us,
we wouldn't need it.
we wouldn't have needed it.
However, this card did come out in the Forgotten Age expansion, so it was like a sideboard card built into it. And those were our decks. We have Skids O'Toole and Luke Robinson, and they did it. They absolutely crushed the Forgotten Age. They got the secret scenario, and then we actually took them in through another campaign that you didn't see, and they also won.
Yeah.
But you didn't see that because they did so good. We can't even put it into words.
It was honestly just not fun to watch. That's why we did.
It was just, the whole time we were just like kicking ass. We were only drawing elder signs, and we were like, do you think this is too boring and we shouldn't upload it?
Yeah.
And Eric was like, yeah, we should cut this.
No.
With that said, Eric, do you have any plans of what you want to do for the Circle Undone?
It's the red gloved man.
Are you going to do that Will Yorick deck you talked about? Is that what you were thinking?
I'm debating between Preston
Okay.
or Will Yorick.
Nice.
But I'm going to try and build the entire deck thematically around the red objects and the red gloved man.
Okay. Interesting.
Justin's like, that's the worst deck you've built so far.
No, I'm just trying to think of them. What do I need to do? I probably should. I mean,
Everything.
I'd be happy to build. We haven't done it yet where we've built 2 flexes. That could be really fun.
That could be really fun.
That could be a good time.
Yeah.
Flexes are a good time. I could build my no-fail ARKHAM Pete. That's one of my favorite decks I've ever played. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because you don't fail.
Oh, that was the other deck I was gonna talk about. So everybody get this. I came up with this great idea. Ashcan Pete and Duke deck.
Yes.
From Barkham.
Yeah. I know a lot of people would love that. I could actually probably... Travis would probably let me borrow his Duke, and we could do it with that. That could be a time.
Could be a time.
We can't do that, though, until you have to get through your blind plays. Then we can start doing the silly shit.
Yeah,
Those are the general rules.
I agree to that. But
And
just
then-
look forward to Duke and Ashcan Pete.
Yeah. I mean, that also is good news for all of you, because I know you all have been enjoying the Eric blind plays. We're not stopping when the blind plays are done. Replaying campaigns is really fun, and Eric's going to, potentially discover new things.
Justin bought out my contract for another 5 years, so...
It was a seal of the deal. I couldn't say no. With all that said, though, coming up in a few days, Eric's going to have their video about the thoughts on the Forgotten Age. So look forward to that on the channel. In the meantime, buckle up, because Circle Undone is going to be happening soon. As always, I try to get ahead of when it goes live, so there might be another campaign between then. But we're going to see, because we actually have a lot of Forgotten Age in the book. So, I mean, actually, by the time that you've seen this, it might already be announced. We'll find out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, a GG's.